Welcome to Grand Prix, your go-to channel for the fastest updates in Formula One. We've got 3 hot stories for you, so make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay ahead of the pack. Let's get started. Today we're talking about Sauber, the team that includes promising Brazilian driver Gabriel Bortolito, and how things have been looking up for them recently. After a tough start to the season, Sauber has shown notable signs of improvement, and the latest races have given fans something to smile about. At the Spanish Grand Prix, the team surprised everyone with a strong performance. Nico Hülkenberg managed to finish well within the points, marking one of Sauber's best results this season. What really got people talking, though, was his late race overtake on Lewis Hamilton. Yes, you heard that right. Hülkenberg in a Sauber managed to pass a Ferrari, and not just anyone, but a 7-time world champion. This upswing in performance seems to be the result of a recent upgrade package that the team introduced. The car looks much more stable and balanced now, giving the drivers a platform they can finally work with. According to Hülkenberg, who crossed the line in 5th place in Spain, several encouraging steps have been taken in the right direction. He praised the team's progress and noted that the car finally felt competitive, with solid overall performance and much better race pace. The stronger result wasn't just about raw speed either. Sauber also executed smart race strategies, maximizing what they had and capitalizing on opportunities as they came. That combination of a more refined car and sharp decisions on the pit wall led to a result the team had been working hard to achieve. And it's exactly this momentum that they hope to carry into the Canadian Grand Prix this weekend. Looking ahead, Hülkenberg was realistic yet optimistic when asked about expectations for Montreal. He admitted that there's still a lot of work to be done and that the team can't get ahead of themselves. The goal, according to him, is to maintain consistency. It's not about expecting miracles, but about continuing to build on the gains they've made over the last few weekends. He emphasized the importance of starting strong on Friday with the right car setup and clean data collection. If Sauber can get things right from the beginning of the weekend, they'll put themselves in a good position to qualify well and aim for points once again on Sunday. However, Hülkenberg also kept things grounded. He doesn't expect to be fighting at the very front like in Spain. Instead, he's targeting solid midfield battles, and if they can stay in that fight, he said he'd be satisfied with that performance. That's the tone inside the Sauber garage right now, hopeful but realistic. There's definitely a sense of excitement about what's possible, but no one is losing sight of the work still required. The team knows that real transformation takes time, and for now, their focus remains on steady progress. As for Gabriel Bortolito, while he hasn't made a major splash yet, his presence is seen as a symbol of the team's future direction. Sauber is trying to balance short-term gains with long-term investment, and Bortolito is part of that vision. The plan is to evolve the car and the team as they prepare for the big transition coming in 2026, when Sauber will officially become Audi. So, while things are trending in the right direction, it's clear that Sauber is keeping both feet firmly on the ground. They're making smart moves and gradually climbing back into the mix, but there's no illusion that the road ahead will be easy. Let us know what you think. Are Sauber's recent results a sign of real progress? Do you believe they can keep building and push further up the field as the season continues? Or do you think the current level is already enough for 2025 and all energy should go toward preparing for 2026 and the Audi era? Drop your thoughts in the comments and stay tuned. We'll be here to keep you updated as the story unfolds. Mercedes heads into the Canadian Grand Prix weekend with renewed optimism, aiming to carry forward the momentum gained from a promising performance at the Spanish Grand Prix. After a roller coaster season filled with ups and downs, the team is cautiously hopeful that they may have turned a corner with their most recent upgrades. Their performance in Barcelona, where the W15 showed significant improvement, has rekindled hope among team members and fans alike. The 2024 season began on a high note for Mercedes, with early races suggesting that the team had taken a meaningful step forward from the difficulties of previous years. However, as the season progressed, inconsistency began to creep in. Problems with balance, tire degradation, and an unpredictable performance window began to plague both Lewis Hamilton and George Russell. The car's peak performance seemed elusive, sometimes strong in qualifying, weak in the race, or vice versa. But in Barcelona, the signs were different. According to team principal Toto Wolff, The data collected over that weekend was the most encouraging they've seen all season. He pointed to measurable improvements in tire management, aerodynamic balance, and overall consistency as key indicators that their recent updates are working as intended. Wolff emphasized that while there's still ground to cover, Mercedes finally feels they're moving in the right direction. With the Canadian Grand Prix just around the corner, Mercedes is placing a clear focus on consistency. They aim not only to replicate their Spanish performance, but to build upon it. The team has stated that they plan to experiment with several setup configurations in Montreal, hoping to better understand how the car behaves across different types of corners and under varying conditions. Montreal's circuit Gilles-Villeneuve, known for its mix of long straights and technical chicanes, poses a very different challenge compared to Barcelona. Yet, the team believes the characteristics of the Canadian track may actually suit the current iteration of the W15. In particular, they are banking on the car's improved aerodynamic stability and straight-line efficiency to give them an edge in both qualifying and race pace. Despite the optimism, Mercedes remains realistic. They know that catching McLaren, now considered one of the frontrunners alongside Red Bull and Ferrari, will require more than just one good weekend. However, they believe that if they can deliver another strong showing in Canada, they will position themselves back into serious contention for podiums and, potentially, even victories as the season unfolds. Internally, the atmosphere has improved. The mood within the team after Barcelona was markedly more upbeat, with both drivers praising the upgrades and the direction the team is taking. There's also a growing sense that Mercedes has finally begun to understand the core issues that were holding back the W15 earlier in the year. The upcoming race in Canada will serve as a critical test. Can Mercedes prove that Barcelona wasn't a one-off? Can they build on what they've learned and show that the W15 is now a genuine threat again? The team hopes the answer is yes, but they are prepared to keep grinding, even if the progress continues to come in small steps. As fans await qualifying and race day, attention will be on how Hamilton and Russell handle the renewed expectations. Both drivers have remained patient through the difficult stretches, but the desire to return to the front of the grid is stronger than ever. If the Canadian Grand Prix confirms Mercedes is back on track, it could mark a pivotal moment in their 2024 campaign. All eyes are on Max Verstappen this weekend as Formula One heads to the Canadian Grand Prix, not only because of his dominant performance in recent seasons, but also due to a very delicate situation involving his super license. Verstappen currently sits just one penalty point away from a race ban, and the pressure is mounting, not just on him, but on the entire Red Bull team. Under FIA regulations, a driver who accumulates 12 penalty points on their super license within a 12-month period is automatically suspended for one race. Verstappen is now dangerously close to that threshold, with points set to expire only after the next two races. If he receives even one more point during this stretch, he would be forced to miss a Grand Prix, a scenario that could significantly impact the championship battle and Red Bull's position in the constructors' standings. Behind the scenes, Red Bull has already begun preparing for the worst-case scenario. A new reserve driver has been added to the roster, and contingency plans are reportedly in place. The team understands the high stakes involved and is making sure they have all options covered in case Verstappen is sidelined unexpectedly. However, none of this appears to be influencing Verstappen himself. Speaking to the media ahead of the Canadian Grand Prix, Verstappen was characteristically blunt. He made it absolutely clear that he has no intention of changing his driving style or approach in light of the penalty risk. When asked about whether he would be more cautious during the next two weekends, Verstappen responded that he doesn't understand why he should have to change anything. He emphasized that his focus remains on performing at the highest level and that the possibility of missing one race doesn't scare him. In his own words, missing a race is not the end of the world, even though he acknowledged that it would not be ideal. He described the situation as something that is largely out of his control and insisted that the only thing he can do is continue driving to the best of his abilities. Verstappen was firm in stating that his mindset will remain unchanged and that he plans to keep pushing hard without compromise. This defiant stance adds an extra layer of tension to the Canadian Grand Prix. Verstappen has never been known for holding back, and the idea of him continuing to drive aggressively while sitting on the edge of a suspension has sparked debate throughout the paddock. Some fans and analysts admire his commitment to staying true to his racing identity, while others believe a more strategic approach would be wiser under the circumstances. The next two races will be crucial not only for Verstappen's championship campaign, but also for the image he continues to build as one of the sport's fiercest competitors. Whether his approach pays off or backfires remains to be seen. What's certain is that Verstappen won't be changing course. For better or worse, he will continue to race exactly as he always has, pushing limits, fighting for every position, and refusing to back down. As the race weekend unfolds, attention will remain firmly fixed on every move Verstappen makes. Any mistake, however small, could tip the scales and trigger a penalty with massive consequences. But if he manages to get through these 2 weekends cleanly, some of his penalty points will expire and the pressure will ease. Until then, the spotlight is on and the risk is real. So what do you think? Is Verstappen right to stay true to his aggressive style despite the risk? Or should he be more cautious to protect his position and avoid a costly suspension? Let us know in the comments, and stay tuned for all the latest updates from the Canadian Grand Prix and the rest of the 2024 season.